What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Happy Monday. Welcome back. We got a whole bunch of crazy stuff to talk about from over the weekend. Body-worn camera footage of a Chicago police officer shooting his partner. Some think it was intentional. Some think it was a lover's quarrel. We'll talk about it here in a minute. We also have Nick Shirley confronting all the retarded people that are talking about the Nick Shirley Act, and it's absolutely dismal. So we got to talk about that as well. Black violence is everywhere. It's out of control. The community needs to hear the truth, and I'm going to give it to you. Ilhan Omar lying about her assets. Everybody that have ever made money ever in their life knows she's a complete lying fool, and I hope she go to jail over it. A shooting over the weekend, I think it was yesterday in Louisiana, a man gunned down his entire family. We're going to talk about that because Gavin Newsom tried to say it was the NRA's fault, but he don't know what he's talking about. And before we get to any of that, we have to give you updates on the Tyler Robinson trial. You need to listen to somebody like me and not these nut jobs, because I'm going to lead you to paradise when it comes to knowledge about this. The others will lead you astray. Welcome to the Officer Tatum Show.
I want everybody in this room to have that same spirit, that same identity carried in your life.
Make sure that you go through life and find your purpose.
And we don't do this just to get a pat on the back. We do it because we came here to win.
And it starts with you understanding that God has a purpose for you.
This is the time to be more bold than ever before.
We're all Americans at the end of the day, and we should love one another. We should be focused on what's right for our country. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, welcome back to the Officer Tatum Show. Appreciate all the members who joined the membership program. Shout out to the rookies. And if you're a rookie, you have access to the post-show clarity on Fridays. So if you're a rookie, the first entry level, we want to give you guys a little extra, and that is for you. I want to give a big shout out to our deputy chiefs. Shout out to James and shout out to Kevin. Thank you so much for being deputy chiefs. You guys are the top tier of the tiers. All right. And I love you and thank you for your support. All right. We got to get into this first story or this first incident. I'm going to set it up for you, and then we're going to proceed. The Tyler Robinson's case. I've been telling you guys this for 100 years, and I hope that you now listen to me. All of these loony naysayers who claim all these crazy things without evidence, you cannot listen to them. There's a dummy that made a video about me, and I really respect his service. He was a Green Beret, but the guy's a lunatic, anti-Jewish hating fool, and therefore everything he do has to go off a cliff. Going out and saying, don't listen to Brandon Tatum about this. Listen to fake conspiracy theories. Now, here is evidence from the court hearing, and I'm going to explain it to you. I told you guys from the beginning that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. Now, whether somebody was behind it, I don't know. I don't have that information. And if you do have that information, let us know. But all this pushing of conspiracy theories doesn't help anybody, and is really not helping Charlie Kirk's family and anything that Charlie Kirk stood for. If he was alive today, he would want you to find the truth in evidence, not the truth in conspiracy theories that make you money on the internet. So here's the court hearing. I'm going to clarify this, because a lot of people are going out and saying that, oh, the prosecution refused to give information to the defense. That's not true. The prosecution refused to give information to the defense because they're afraid of the preliminary hearing and that they don't have evidence. That's not true. A preliminary hearing is not for it's discovery and for you to do all this other stuff. It's just to establish probable cause. I don't mean to get upset, but these lunatics who have never in their lives done an investigation tries to tell people like myself and others how this stuff works. But here's the judge, and here is the prosecution and defense for you to see for yourself. Roll the clip.
So one of the questions that's before the court, and Mr. Novak, it goes to the heart of the matter for this court, as the court is weighing whether the continuance should be granted or not. Has defense reviewed all the discovery that has been presented up until this point?
Time out. I want to make sure you guys are clear on this. This is for continuance, right? They have the preliminary hearing that's supposed to be established, probable cause. The prosecution is ready to go. The defense is trying to push it beyond what's reasonable. They want a continuance. They want this to be dragged out for 6 months. And this is the judge articulating to the defense, what is your merit for continuance? Roll the clip.
For a preliminary hearing set for next month.
We have reviewed the discovery that is tied to the exhibits that the state intends to offer at the prelim, where there is discovery available.
That's it. That's all you need.
If the court is saying, have you reviewed the thousands that have the lawyers reviewed the thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of discovery that are well documented in the index that Mr. McBride provided the court privately? The answer is no. Our paralegals are doing their best to organize it, but have counsel reviewed that discovery, and have we had a reasonable time to do so? No, because it's gigantic and it's voluminous. We know that some of it has nothing, some of it has been provided in what I guess the state would call an abundance of caution. 30 days worth of surveillance video from UVU. We don't believe that we even need to review 29 of the 30 days. So we're not going to waste time and resources reviewing hundreds of surveillance camera hours without some suggestion that we need to, and we don't believe that we do. Have we reviewed, every FBI report interviewing people who claim to have known Mr. Robinson or known his roommate? Yeah, we've reviewed all of that. Have we reviewed the forensic materials that we have received? Yes. Have we reviewed all the law enforcement reports about the events at UVU? I mean, I can only speak for myself. No.
All right.
Because it's so.
Let me put this in perspective for you. And you guys can watch this on your own if you think that I don't give it justice. But putting this in perspective, the judge is asking him, have you had a chance to review the documentation that was provided by the prosecution for the preliminary hearing, not discovery or anything else, for the preliminary hearing of probable cause or to establish probable cause in this case? He pretty much said yes. The judge is not asking you, did you review 100,000 documents that are irrelevant to the probable cause statement, the probable cause verification? This guy's grandstanding and going off on this tangent. And here is, let's skip this one and go to the next clip with the prosecution to tighten this up a little bit. Now, this is what the prosecution is now saying, which to me seems reasonable, and why the defense is not acting in good faith, in my opinion. They want to continue to push this thing further and further and further along, trying to find an angle. There ain't no angle. There's a myriad of amounts or copious amounts of evidence that Tyler Robinson did this. Even the defense just articulated that, have we reviewed 30 days of UVU footage? They've given them plenty of information. Roll the clip.
We've narrowed it down, given greater notice than is required by the expert notice statute, in fact. More than a month's notice of all the exhibits and witnesses we're going to call. There's 6 witnesses we're going to call. There's about 35 exhibits we're going to provide. Most of those exhibits were provided to them clear back in 2025. The last one I think was provided maybe, I've got it on a list here, but I know you have it in that letter I sent, Mr. Novak, but the last one was provided there's a tool marks report that was provided March 12th, okay? So under these circumstances, no, they can review these 35 exhibits. We've got plenty of time to review them. I'm sure between all of them, they've reviewed all these exhibits.
All right. I thought we had one more from the prosecution. Okay, roll this one because this gives more clarity on why this is unreasonable for them to continue to prolong. And this debunks what people are saying when it comes to the prosecution being unwilling to disclose information to the defense because they're somehow afraid. Roll it.
So the question is a continuance necessary for the purpose of a preliminary hearing? And to understand that, you have to understand 2 things. 1, what is the purpose of the preliminary hearing? And 2, what is the evidence that's likely to be presented at the preliminary hearing? And then you get to 3, is a continuance necessary? First, the purpose of a preliminary hearing is clear. There's very few principles in Utah law that are more clear than this. There is one purpose to the preliminary hearing and one purpose only, and that is to determine probable cause. Every time a defendant or a trial court tries to expand the preliminary hearing beyond that, whether it's on constitutional due process grounds or discovery grounds or something else, the courts uniformly and repeatedly reject those arguments. There's only one purpose. It's clear in the Constitution. It is to determine probable cause. It's not a discovery hearing. It's not a due process notice hearing where the defense learns what the state's theories are, or what evidence the state is going to present at the trial. It is not a suppression hearing under the Fourth Amendment. It's not an admissibility hearing under the rules of evidence, and it's certainly not a 702 hearing. It is only one thing, a probable cause hearing, and that's it. That's important because that relates to what a continuance being necessary means, right? Can the defense show they need to continue this hearing because it's necessary to a determination of probable cause? If they can't, it's unnecessary and it's going to infringe on the victim's right to a speedy trial, as well as the state's ability to present the case. Justice delayed is justice denied, as the saying goes, and that's because it affects a victim's right to a speedy trial. It affects the public's perception of legitimacy of the prosecution and the judicial system, and it has real effects on the evidence that may be presented at trial.
And let me give you my theory on what they're trying to do here. And it's just my opinion. It appears, based on articulation from the prosecution, and we've seen all the evidence, and we already know that they have video evidence of Tyler Robinson going onto campus, into the stairwell, getting up in a shooter stance on his sniper setup, taking the shot. They have video evidence of all this, taking a shot, running and jumping off the building and running into the community. Then they have surveillance of people's home cameras where they see him running away from the spot where he dumped the gun at. They got so much overwhelming, compelling evidence that it's not even close. And they're articulating very clearly, they're giving them enough to go forward in a preliminary hearing. The defense wants to prolong this because they're trying to, the longer you span this out, the more people are going to distrust the prosecution, the more people are going to have, more conspiracy theories that are put out there, the more that the jury can be tainted, the more that they can create arguments along the way to try to get this guy in a position where he won't get the death penalty. That's all that they're doing. None of them are contesting the validity of all this evidence that's being presented. You don't get 30 days and 20,000 electronic communications because there's no evidence. That means there's a plethora of evidence. This is going to be an open and shut case. It really is. But the defense wants to create an environment where something can go wrong between there and then so that they can have some potential to get him off the death penalty. And there's one more thing that I want to touch on because people are talking about the 30-06. The idiot that I was telling you about early on, shout out to his service as a Green Beret, but he's a complete idiot. The guy is saying that now that they've determined that the bullet is a 30 caliber, that all of a sudden Brandon Tatum is dumb because he don't know what caliber mean and what it represents. I get so sick of these people because just because you served in the military don't mean you're the only person that know about guns. Fool, I was on the SWAT team. All the guys that trained us on the SWAT team, all of our SWAT leaders were all in the military. Many of them were Navy, not Navy SEALs, but they were Marines in tactical environments in the military, deployed to combat zones, and we trained with Delta. We had annual training with Delta. And we used all of their training tactics when we do our training. So it was just like paramilitary. And our rules of engagement were quite different. So anyway, just so you guys know, they discovered that the bullet was a 30 class of a round. The gun that's used shoots 30 class weapon rounds, which is 30-06. Those two things are reasonable to draw the conclusion together that bullet came from that gun. When you have that person on camera using that gun to shoot Charlie and then ditching the gun with his DNA on it and his family identifying the gun belongs to the family and also it being identified as the person on the camera, also made admissions that he was the one that took Charlie Kirk out and shot Charlie Kirk and killed him. All of that together. And then you have the gun, the bullet that's fragmented enough that it cannot be test fired against the gun, so it can't be proven that it came from the gun or didn't come from the gun. It's inconclusive. When you designate that it's a 30 class round, it's reasonable to believe that it came from a 30 class gun. That rules out a 5.56. That rules out a 9mm, that rules out a whole bunch of other different caliber weapons. So that is reasonable. Beyond a reasonable doubt that bullet came from that gun. That's what it comes down to. That fool said that there's no case if they don't have that. That's a lie. The preponderance, not preponderance of evidence, but the voluminous nature of all that evidence together proves beyond a reasonable doubt that kid did it. All right, let's get to the next topic. Louisiana shooting, which was absolutely horrific. Gavin Newsom put his foot in his mouth and his behind at the same time when he came out and made a statement online to say that this was NRA's issue. These people are so silly, and they don't understand what mass shooting means because they've already conditioned the brain to think of every mass shooting as a school shooting. A mass shooting is just 3 or more people getting shot at the same time. That's what a mass shooting is. And so every time in the hood, every day, there's a mass shooting. But they don't talk about that because it's not sexy enough. But when you're dumb and you're supposed to be the governor of an incredible state and you're too stupid to take the time and listen to what happened in this situation, this has nothing to do with the NRA. The guy was a convicted felon anyway, should have never had a gun. But wake up, Gavin. Criminals don't follow the law. Duh. So now that we got that out the way, let's get to the brass tacks of what really happened. This was a domestic violence situation where a father decided to kill all of his own children. Roll the clip.
Police say Shamar Elkins killed 8 children, including 7 of his own, in an execution-style shooting in Shreveport, Louisiana, early Sunday morning.
When he returned here, he began to execute children.
The incident started as a domestic dispute around 5 in the morning. According to police, Elkins shot a woman in the face at one house, then went to the house where his children were and shot another woman. Police say he pursued the children, even as some of them tried to escape.
Were they crawling out of windows to get onto a roof?
Yes, so actually this house right here that you see behind us, there's a window right above the garage. They actually climbed out of that window, we believe, and unfortunately one of the children was actually located deceased on the roof. So we are working to determine, we do believe that he shot the child while the child was on the roof trying to get away.
Police say the shooter then stole a vehicle from a driver at gunpoint and led officers on a multi-parish chase. When he stopped in a neighborhood and got out with a gun, officers shot and killed him.
Now, the story that I take from this, one of a very sad story, put that picture up there, of a story of a mentally ill lunatic, and you can just look at him in this picture and the other pictures, he's clearly out of his mind. He was out of his mind when he was bumping and grinding and pumping and sweating with either one woman or all these different women. And I'm not trying to be punitive towards these people, but man, you should be paying attention to who you're having kids with. This guy is crazy. He looks crazy. It's like he reminds me of people that I know, one person in particular in my family that was crazy and doing the rest of his life in prison because he's crazy. He tried to kill a guy at a grocery store, an armed robbery, and he ended up getting life in prison. And he did other stuff that nobody would ever know, and it'll go to the grave, but it involved killing other people. And this guy's crazy. A story of a horrific situation where they put all these babies in a position to be executed by a lunatic that they knew was a lunatic. And he got what he was coming to him at the end of his life. But also, this is another story that I hear of heroism and the heroic nature of police in this country. These men and women go out every day and put their lives on the line to confront evil like this person. And the evil is not just confronted at the traffic stop when they probably had the pleasure of smoking this guy like a brisket from the heinous things that he's done, but also when you have to go to the house and you have to see those children deceased and you have to see one deceased on a roof with gunshot wounds. This is not the movies. When you shoot a child with a gun, it is brutal. It is children are unrecognizable. And I'm not trying to be gruesome with you guys, but you're talking brain matter, guts, you're talking all kinds of crazy stuff that no person should ever have to see. And these police officers have to do this every single day. And after they leave this call, they don't get to go home and get to just chill. They got to come back and do it again the next day and the next day and the next day. And I want you guys to see an example of, and nothing against this lady, I understand her feeling. This is a city council member. Look at her emotional response, and I want you to consider in your mind that she did not go to the scene and saw deceased kids. She didn't see them deceased. She didn't have to pick the bodies up and put them in body bags. She don't have that trauma of having to shoot the guy who did this and having to put him in a body bag. And look at her emotional response. Roll the clip.
There are 8 children that are deceased. I can't be strong for you. I think about the mother and what this family has lost. I think about this community and what this community has lost. And I don't have the words to give you, and I'm sorry. I don't know what people think in the crevices of their mind to want to harm another human being, let alone that of children who have their whole life ahead of them. From what I've learned about this incident is that it's domestic in nature that makes it even more horrific for all the fighting that we do as it relates to this. And maybe you can stand strong with this, but I can't without shedding tears of traumatic pain. I pain and I grieve for this family. I grieve for the lives that are lost, and I'm asking you to please utilize every resource that the sheriff has brought forth now when you know that these situations occur. We cannot be and make this a joke. This is not a freaking joke. This is real, and this is the result when someone snaps. So I'm gonna ask the community, along with prayer, with every mental health consultant, counselor that is out here, this family and this community needs you. I need you. Because how do we get through this?
All right, thank you. I feel her pain in part. I've never experienced anything this horrific personally. I feel her pain, but I also feel the pain of those law enforcement officers too, because it is horrific to see that type of carnage and evil. I'll never forget the images in Uvalde where the officers that went into the building and ended up seeing all those kids. They were throwing up, they were crying, they were distraught because the average person have not seen what a dead person look like and what gunshot wounds look like on a human body. It's not cool. And I know people want to feel sorry for the family and everything, and I agree. I think we should. But we should also pray for these cops, man, that had to be exposed to this stuff. OME, that have to be exposed to this stuff. The people that work at the funeral home, the people that have to go and put these babies to rest or probably embalm them and try to make an open casket situation for these kids. It's terrible. It's sad. And you know what? To be honest, in a weird part of this, I'm glad the kids don't have to suffer anymore. Imagine living in an environment like that and suffering every single day. And I'm hoping these kids are in heaven with Jesus. No more pain, no more suffering, no more dealing with their crazy parents who had no business doing what they were doing. And so I want to pray for their families. I want to pray for these cops that had to go through this very sad situation. And in part, I'm glad that justice was brought swiftly. And I'm glad that no other officers had to get hurt in this situation of a maniac with a gun. All right, let me get to one thing, and then I'm gonna finish the show with the foolery in the black community. We have to talk about it. I'm gonna give y'all a break from it because we just saw an example of the foolery in the black community, and not exclusive to the black community, but it's too much going on in the black community. We're gonna talk about the accidental shooting that happened in Chicago. We're gonna talk about Nick Shirley. We may be able to get to Ilhan Omar. I'll see as the time permits. But before I get there, I want to give a shout out to Verdict because Verdict has been doing tremendous and people absolutely love it. Great product, great quality. We're not messing around with that white label and stuff. No, it's legitimate. We tasted it. We went through processes. I think 17 samples that we had to do to get the taste right. and you go and look at the reviews, don't listen to B. Tatum. Look at the reviews. The best bourbon on the market. We're in multiple restaurants. We get in restaurants almost every week. We're in a new high-end restaurant. So if you're interested in Verdict, do the thing. All right. Let's get to the next situation, which I think is absolutely crazy. But I want to give clarity on this situation because a lot of people, somebody messes me. Oh, Brandon, you just putting out the cop. I don't think that it was intentional, but I think that it speaks to a larger issue that we will get to in a minute. Roll the clip.
The video is difficult to watch. It shows CPD partners Krystal Rivera and Carlos Baker chasing a man into an apartment building in the Tatum neighborhood last summer. Police stating at the time they believed that man was armed. The video showing Baker firing one shot that struck and killed Rivera unintentionally, according to police.
Come here.
You can see in this body-worn camera video from Officer Carlos Baker, he and Officer Krystal Rivera approaching an apartment building on Drexel in Chatham the night of June 5th.
Hey! Give us your hands!
Both officers asking a man to show them his hands before going inside and chasing that man who entered an apartment. Rivera directly behind Baker in the narrow hallway. Baker kicking down the door as the suspect flips over the couch before another man, seen here in surveillance video released by COPA, exits a room with a long gun in his hand. Baker appearing to react, turning, firing one shot. Rivera then falling to the ground. Baker ascending the stairs, calling in shots fired and asking for an ambulance.
Krystal, you good? 10-1, shot fired at the police! You need an ambulance! Ambulance, now! Squad, roll everybody and roll the SWAT team, SWAT!
About 2 minutes later, you see Baker going to check on his partner before additional units arrived to transport her. The video released 4 months after Krystal Rivera's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Baker and CPD, citing a volatile history between the two who had been romantically involved. Rivera requesting a new partner after they broke up. Baker had been at the center of multiple investigations by the Chicago Police Department and has been relieved of police powers. The I-Team previously reported Baker also faced 3 suspensions and 2 reprimands in just 4 years with the department. Now, it was 11 seconds between Baker and Rivera entering that building before she was shot. Police have said since the beginning that Baker unintentionally shot Officer Krystal Rivera. The I-Team reached out to attorneys for Officer Baker and Officer Rivera's family. We have not heard back.
All right, from a former law enforcement officer, I think I'm an expert on this. I can argue. We'll put the actual video because I want to break down the video and why this went south. But I have to say, man, I used to work for a police department that was excellent. The Tucson Police Department was absolutely excellent. We had the best training. We had the best SWAT team. We had the best protocol. And we had the best culture. Like the Tucson Police Department had it figured out. These other agencies, I hate to say, man, they're either too large or they're run way more laxed. I'm looking at a dude wearing tennis shoes. He got white tennis shoes on. And I'm not saying that you can't do police work in tennis shoes. It just speaks to the lackadaisical nature of the way they operate these agencies. And some of these agencies on the East Coast, you could drink a beer on duty. You could have at least one beer for lunch on duty, which is crazy to me. And then you see a situation where you have fraternization. People who are working together at the same rank cannot have relations with each other. And I know it's probably a policy, but look at how laxed this department is where this stuff is going on so blatantly. Then you have an officer who's getting in trouble every year. I was on the police department for 6.5 years. I've never gotten seriously reprimanded. How do you get reprimanded like 6 times in 4 or 5 years? Dude, you're a terrible cop. And how this guy's still on duty with him and this girl in a physical sexual relationship, allegedly, and they're partners. She's requesting a different partner, and then he ended up killing her on the call. And that's not the worst. The worst is the training that I'm observing from these officers. Roll the clip. We'll go through that real quick. Hold on, pause it. I don't think we had the beginning where they went to the front door. I want you to go back to that original news clip, and I'm going to start it there. You can take the sound off and just play it. I'm going to have you pause it when we get right to them at the front door. I want you guys to see. I'll start with that, and then we'll jump to the other body-worn camera clip. But the officer safety issue and problem with their tactics is worse from the very moment right here. Play it, play it, play it. Stop. You have somebody at the front door engaging You have an officer walking up doing this. Roll it. Pause. Try to go back just a little bit. Where you'll see the officer behind with the gun out. Right there. This person has his gun, and you have a person with no gun at the front door. If anything, you never pull a gun behind another police officer. This is already looking bad. Because if anything, she take fire and try to move to the left or the right, she's right in the line of fire from the officer behind her. You do not walk up on the scene like this. You walk up together. If y'all do come at a separate time, you get close to the officer before you draw your weapon so y'all don't end up in a crossfire situation. That's violation number one. Let's get to the actual video from the other scene. And you can put the audio on. Pause right here. Running upstairs with your gun like this, and you don't have any physical visibility of anybody, is already an issue. If you're going to have that gun out, you need to have that gun out pressed with some type of form. No, they didn't teach us to run and shoot with your hand like this. You're not going to hit nobody accurately running like this. If you're running, you need to run up the stairs like this, and you need to be able to press and do a shot. This in-between, poorly trained handling of a firearm is how somebody got killed. So I can see right here, as the frame moves, his finger is on the trigger. And therefore, what happens when your finger's on the trigger? It's called sympathetic reflex, which is an argument why I don't think he shot the girl on purpose. He's just a bad officer that she shouldn't even been with in the first place. It's called sympathetic reflex. When you got your finger on the trigger and you go to move and you think you hear something, you pull the trigger. Or you go to move and this hand does something, this hand gonna do the same thing. So you go to get to your radio to pull it, you're gonna do this. Same time. You go to put your hand down to grab something, to grab the stairwell or to grab because you're falling, you're gonna do this at the same time. That's why you do not have your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to execute. And when I say execute, mean execute a shot, not execute a person. And what does he do? He falls back, he reaches for something, he grabs something, and he have a sympathetic reflex, and he shoots the gun while it's hanging to the left because he don't have the gun in any form. It's just swinging like this. Terrible tactics. Roll it. Pause. People often say that he's lying, like he's intentionally trying to act like it came from him. He's so poorly trained and he's so flustered that he probably thought the shot came from him. He didn't realize he shot out of his own gun. Poor training, poor tactics, wearing tennis shoes. It's crazy. And then let him go, let it continue.
Squad, my partner's hit. My partner's hit. Give me an ambulance now.
Time out. Another point of terrible training. You do not scream on the radio. The louder you scream don't mean that you're going to get a response. The way we're trained on the radio is that you get on. It's not like he's actually getting shot. Now, that'd be different. No shooting has occurred. One shot happened out of his own gun, but let's just move past that. You get on the radio calm and reasonable. And you say, shots fired, I need help, partner down. Be cool, calm, collected, articulate what you need to say. That comes with training and experience. These big agencies do not train well. Continue to roll.
Squad, I can't get to my partner. I'm upstairs. Roll the SWAT team. Roll the SWAT team.
Now, all right, I'm going to try to sum this up. He didn't know where he was at. He was flustered. He couldn't tell them a specific address. He just said, I'm upstairs. My partner's downstairs. I understand. I'm not trying to judge him too much because in a situation like this, a lot of that stuff go out of your mind. I get it. He goes down. He does not render aid. People wonder why he didn't render aid. It does not make sense for him to render aid because he still have a threat in front of him. He can't put his head down and start doing chest compressions and stuff on her because he'll put his head down away from the threat. So not rendering aid is not necessarily a fault of his. He should have took her, rolled her to safety, which he ended up doing eventually. So anyway, I just had to throw that out there. Let's go to Nick Shirley real quick because I think this is an important topic to talk about. And then we may hit the black violence tomorrow because it's extensive. I literally had 30, 40 videos, and I stopped at 30 or 40 of black people cutting up. And it's out of control. But before we get there, we're going to talk about this Nick Shirley incident. And before we get to any Nick Shirley thing, I want to say a thank you to every single person who support and who have donated to help in Nick Shirley's security. I'm sure he's super busy, so he don't always often have a time to think about thanking you. So I'm going to thank you for him. It has been thousands of you guys. I think it's probably over 10,000 donors who have donated to support Nick Shirley, and I want to say thank you for supporting him because without the Guardian Fund, Nick Shirley would have no security. I'm telling you, he wouldn't have no security because he couldn't afford it. He couldn't afford to pay all his security. So shout out to the Guardian Fund. If you're interested in supporting Nick or other influencers, go to the link here, right here, and you can support the Guardian Fund. All right? Let's roll it.
You're telling me this stupid goofy ass bill, the Stop Nick Shirley Act, which could truly only be done and thought of and sponsored and brought to the floor by an actual Karen swamp hag, you're telling me it's now advancing? It's advanced in the legislature now. Interesting. So now I'm digging more into this, and I'm seeing that this bill is heavily sponsored by CHIRLA. That NGO sounded very familiar to me. Ding, 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 went off in my head. And I'm like, oh, wait, that's the same organization that literally took my taxes and used them for paid protesting against ICE during this last summer when all the cop cars were burned on fire, everyone's looting. And this same NGO is supporting the bill that would stop Nick Shirley and other independent journalists for investigating those same NGOs? Oh boys, do I win the game? Do I win the fraud game? I figured it out. Can I have my taxes back? Holy it's like they're screaming, we stole your taxes, look at me.
Insane. Here's Nick Shirley on Fox. Roll it.
Expose fraud. This is what could happen to you inside the state of California. You could get a misdemeanor, a $10,000 fine, imprisonment, and your content forced to be deleted. That is absolutely crazy.
Senior national correspondent William Lajeunesse is joining us live in Los Angeles. William, fill us in on this bill.
Well, the fear is the bill would criminalize investigative reporting. Introduced by the wife of the state attorney general, Rob Bonta, the bill protects immigrant service providers, lawyers, nonprofits, activists, the same as a victim of domestic abuse. It shields their address from reporters and imposes a fine up to 10 grand on any organization or individual that publishes a photo of a provider on social media.
This program allows participants to keep their home and work addresses out of public records, giving them a critical layer of protection and privacy in an environment where their personal safety is increasingly at risk.
So critics argue the bill silences citizen journalists and shields organizations from public scrutiny. Example, say a nonprofit gets millions from a city or county to provide free immigrant housing or legal aid. Well, under this bill, journalists could be stopped from finding it through public records because the bill requires the state to provide a fake address.
Let me clarify this real quick. Let me tell y'all how this is crazy. I would support the bill if they really cared about safety and security, which means that you can find all this information, you just can't go and approach these people, right? You can't go up in their house or somewhere where it creates an environment where they're unsafe, right? To help them from people bombarding their house, meaning that it's only one Nick Shirley, but what if 45 people show up at these people's residence, they have kids there, whatever. If they argued that, I could say maybe, just maybe, they may be acting in good faith. They're not arguing that. They don't want you to have access. Access, you can research and do it from the comfort of your own home. They don't want them to have access, not because they don't want Nick Shirley to go to the door and knock like a regular citizen should be able to. They don't want you to have access. They don't want you to look it up under the guise of safety, which is bullcrap. If you get money from the government, the public, you getting taxpayer dollars. The public, then don't get taxpayer dollars and your stuff can be, blocked or hidden or whatever the case may be. But if you're getting money from taxpayer dollars, we should be able to know what programs that our money going to. What are y'all saying here? They're trying to stop fraud. Here's Nick Shirley, and just so you guys know, because I'll clarify for you, Nick is being provided security, okay? So we have covert people, so it's not so obvious, right? We have covert people with Nick, and I almost want to do a giveaway if you can identify who the person is. I already know who the security person is that we deploy because we already know what our security look like. But I wonder, can anybody identify the person? Maybe I shouldn't even ask you to because I don't want to blow his cover, but Nick Shirley is not doing this by himself, right? He's not out there on the loose. He does have protection from Black Line Security. All right, roll the clip.
Here's one of the authors of the bill. How are you guys doing? We just want to ask you about the bill and why you guys would pass this bill that really is an attack on free speech.
I am not even sure what you're talking about.
Really?
You said an author. I don't think.
Yes.
I'm an
Did you
author.
pass out? Did you sign to pass this bill? The AB 26?
No, I don't
24?
know what you're talking about.
Speaker Rivas, how are you doing? What do you think about the Stop Nick Shirley Act, AB 2624?
I don't know anything about it.
You're a co-author of the Stop Nick Shirley Act. Oh, you know who I am. My name's Nick Shirley, ma'am. You signed off on the AB 2624 Act. Can you tell us about what you did on that?
I don't even know who you are.
Well, my name's Nick Shirley. So what do you think about the Stop Nick Shirley Act, AB 2624? You don't know much about it? Or?
I don't know if I know that.
Oh, well, can I tell you a little bit about it?
I'm okay.
So you should know about it, though, because it's kind of your job. Super important. People have a lot of questions about the AB 2624 Act,
so this bill,
aka the Stop Nick Shirley Act. Tell us about it.
On
well,
a
there's
fake
no
phone
Stop
call.
Nick Shirley Act, but the author's not here today, but I hope you can find her.
But you're a co-author of this.
I'm a co-author of many, many bills that protect vulnerable communities in California.
Good, so you should know a lot about this bill. For instance, it shields immigration.
Hold on one. Hey.
I hate to disrupt the phone call, but this is important. Wait, come on. Look at that. These guys really just don't want to answer.
Now think about this for a minute. I want to tell you how bad this really is. These people literally are telling him they have no idea what he's talking about. To me, this is fraud on two levels. It's fraudulent to even try to introduce the bill to start with. And secondly, if you're a co-author on a bill and you don't know what it is, did you really co-author the bill? Are people forging your name as co-author on a bill? And the third thing is, if you did the bill, why can't you stand behind it? If I was a congressperson, I'm walking in and Nick Shirley was a problem and he's here, I'm like, let's talk. You put me on the internet, somebody pull your phone out so we can have verification. Yeah, this is why we introduced the bill. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? You are putting people's lives in danger, whatever they want to say. But they act like they're frauds when they act like they don't know what he's talking about. They act like they don't know who he is. Of course they know who Nick Shirley is. He's probably the only person in the state of California that's exposing fraud to this level. He's on the news every day. Videos getting hundreds of millions of views. Every podcast that exists, he's been on it. Oh, we don't know who you are. You know they frauds. All right, here's a continuation. Roll it.
The bill, AB 2624, why would you sign off on that? It's a direct violation of the First Amendment, and it makes it harder for people to expose fraud here.
We have Ledge Counsel. They check the constitutionality of all our bills as we're writing them. I work on fraud issues. You'd know that if you look at some of the work I did on the budget subcommittee.
Amazing. So Mia Bonta, her husband's Attorney General of the Attorney General of California, and it was only until I exposed fraud that they actually cracked down on the fraud and made some arrests here, especially with the hospices. And do you know that if this bill were to pass, it'd make it illegal for someone to go after fraud, especially if it's based off of immigrants, for instance, Armenians in California?
No, I think that that's a misinterpretation of the bill, but I'm happy to talk with you more about it. And
Don't you
Fraud and
worry.
investigations into fraud are something that's been happening for a very long time. The Attorney General handles those cases. This is an ongoing
It's a little weird
issue.
that the wife of the Attorney General, Mia Bonta, is now pushing this bill that literally goes against the First Amendment.
No, I actually don't. I don't think that this bill violates the First Amendment. I mean,
Really?
that's the whole purpose. We have ledge counsel and ledge attorneys that talk with us about this.
All
Constitutionality.
right, cool. I wish that she would really have a conversation with him, right? She gave it a little bit, but I would love to see them sit down and have a conversation for them to explain why y'all doing this. It's crazy to me. They're more worried about this than they were about stopping fraud. Complete lunacy. All right, here's Nick Shirley on television. I'll say it one more time. Nick Shirley has security with him provided by Blackline, and I want to thank everybody, all the thousands of you guys who support Nick Shirley, because without you, none of this fraud will be uncovered. Because you know why. People don't want Nick Shirley to uncover this fraud. So that's why his security is important. And that's why it's important to thank you guys and appreciate you guys. And I encourage you, if it's in your heart to support Nick Shirley or any of the journalists that we work with, for you to go to blacklineguardianfund.com and give a level of support. It's a 501c3. Therefore, you get tax-exempt donations. And we'll send it to you. You know, as soon as you can make the donation, we'll send you the tax forms and everything you need to make sure that you can write it off on your taxes. But again, thank you guys, man. I can't thank you enough of how much support Nick has gotten and how much we've been able to provide security he wouldn't be able to afford. I'm telling you right now. Roll the clip.
Very interesting connections with her husband being the Attorney General of California. Their goal as a family should be to prosecute and take care and make sure that there is so little fraud in the state that they can have such a peaceful night of sleep. However, while the Attorney General is supposed to be prosecuting fraud, his wife is creating laws to let fraud continue. They're specifically saying that NGOs who receive money based off immigrant services don't have to disclose their money. And so we know that they use those services to commit fraud.
Yeah. You know, Nick, it's interesting to me that people who will scream fascism or authoritarianism the loudest are now rushing to criminalize investigation.
Roll it.
Danger is real. Like, for instance, last time I was in California, a few trips back, people were trying to dox my location live. I was at a hotel, and people were up on Reddit group chats saying where I was staying. And it's happened a few times now, so it's like almost even dangerous for me to go stay at hotels because you can get doxxed really quick and people can find out where you're at. You get constant death threats from people. The fraudsters are angry. In fact, yeah, they're very angry. I've had death threats, and one of them was even very specific about the date. It's actually supposed to be coming up very soon, the date that they said they'd kill me. So that was interesting. And you just get all these death threats, you get doxing. But the majority of the public are very thankful. Like, when I'm out in public, so many people come up to me and say thank you. It's actually interesting at Sacramento, when I was just there, so many people were saying thank you. But the people inside the building, they all hate me because I'm exposing their corruption. But the people love me.
All right, so again, it's just a testament of y'all support towards him. Thank you for it. But let's move on to Ilhan Omar real quick, because this lying sack of potatoes, she's so annoying to me. These people are such frauds. They need to go to prison. And then tomorrow we'll follow up on this black community stuff. I think I need like 20 minutes to talk about that. And nobody wants to talk about it that happen to have skin color like me, except for like 5 or 6 people. And it's not to bash all black people, because there's a lot of great black people. But my goodness, man, when are we going to start holding these communities accountable and calling it for what it is? But this is Ilhan Omar being deceptive about the money she's making. Dude, there's a difference between a clerical issue where you have a little bit of money here, a little bit of money here. We had an issue like that. It was really with paying taxes. We were going to pay way too much taxes. We like, oh, no, something ain't right here. But it's not the difference between $40,000 and $30 million. That's you know she lying. Roll the clip.
So I have a question for you. Have you ever accidentally thought that you were a multimillionaire? Well, Ilhan Omar says she is not a multimillionaire. And look at this headline from the Wall Street Journal. She thought she was, though. Omar was standing down. Look at this headline. Ilhan Omar says she isn't a multimillionaire, blames accounting error. Okay, so an accounting error led her to believe she was very wealthy. Well, Omar was staring down a potential investigation after disclosing that she and her husband's assets were valued between $6 million and $30 million on a financial disclosure form. Now listen to this. That was an astronomical increase in wealth from her last disclosure, but she has since amended her filing, now saying that her assets are valued between $18,004 to $95,000. So 6 to 30 million to under 100,000. How in the world does that happen? Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, quote, aides said that Omar looked at the form before it was filed in 2025, but that the error did not jump off the page for her because she isn't involved with her husband's businesses. Okay, wow.
Now, I'm going to play the next clip of Ilhan Omar on the Breakfast Club. But, Brad, I'm telling you, I do this, right? I have an accountant. I have CPA. We go through the finances. There's no way in the world that you accidentally figure you're worth $6 to $30 million and you ain't even worth $500,000. It didn't happen that way. I'm telling you guys. Roll the clip.
They said you reported a net worth between $6 million and $30 million, and they said your 2023 disclosure was roughly $40,000, between $40,000 and $250,000.
Yeah, but they're not net worths. They're like the asset things for the companies, and so I don't know what percentage of it my husband actually has investment in. Like that's not, you know what I mean? It's not a full picture of the numbers in the way that it is presented in the document, because in the documents we have to do ranges and we have to like report in a way that is not detailed. It's not like your tax return that you're submitting for the public record to see.
But that is a big increase, though. So you could understand why people would ask questions.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure it'll get like adjusted at some level when those ranges are looked at.
Like, can y'all put this together? Like, she got on a Breakfast Club. And then this funny thing is that I bet you $1 million that Charlemagne didn't really go deeper into this. Like, well, wait a minute. Can you explain that? Think about this for a minute. My wife, we file our taxes jointly, right? We're a married couple, so we do joint filings. If somehow I had equity in a business and we had to fill out a form, I'm pretty sure nobody would accidentally say 6 million or 30 million. Unless you know you have assets in this business that they have been, I don't know, valuated at $100 million and you own 30%. Yeah, of course, you may have to put that range there. But if you have equity in a company that have not been valuated yet, and there's no determination of your asset number, how much assets you own on paper, why would you guess that it's 30 million or 6 million? You just don't put that on your taxes. You don't put that on your filings because it has not manifested. That's like, you know, I own a couple companies. That's like one of my companies that I own, and I have to fill out a form of my net worth. And I go, 500 million. Where do you get that number from? You have to have an actual valuation in the company for you to determine what the net worth of the company is. You can't say, because I think this company one day will be worth $500 million. And I'm just going to presume. Because what happens is these people begin to presume, they begin to use these documents to get loans. And either you're lying on a document and you don't have that net worth, or that is your net worth and you're using it to get loans, so you have to have documentation and filings. And now that you got caught, you have to backtrack and say, oh, no. That $6 to $30 million was just an accident. We accidentally evaluated a company that wasn't real, or whatever you could say. None of it makes sense. All of it is fraud. And how these Democrats, I don't care if you're a Democrat now, I don't care who you are. How does these fraudulent people not get investigated and go to jail over this stuff is crazy to me. Somebody needs to ask her, how did you go from that number to this number and back down to that number? Matter of fact, your accountant needs to go to jail. Somebody needs to go to jail. Somebody needs to get fired. But I'm telling you guys, if there was a issue that occurred with your boy B. Tatum, and it was a financial issue like this, why won't you just tell the truth? Like if I had an accounting issue and it was like, oh, it's a clerical issue, I can explain very clearly, like, oh, this is what happened. The attorney did this, and it wasn't supposed to be this. They totally looked at gross income instead of looking at net income, and that's how the number got inflated. It's definitely not that number. That's so easy to explain if you genuinely had something that was off a little bit and there was a mistake. What's hard to explain is that when you're lying and you try to act like, I don't know what my husband's business dealings is. You never asked your husband how y'all became multimillionaires? Bro, if I had a $30 million net worth, which I don't yet, but if I had a $30 million net worth, I'm pretty sure my wife would know what company gave us a $30 million net worth. She would know all about it because I'd be talking to her every day. Baby, you can't believe it. Like, the company valuated at $100 million. I own 30%. That's $30 million. Baby, in 5 years, we're going to sell this company and it's going to be valuated at 10x. We're worth $300 million. You think my wife ain't going to know that? She going to be like, I don't know. It's just something in Brandon's business. I don't know what this is. 40,000 to 30 million, and you have no idea what possibly a business that I might have. Take her to jail. Quit playing with us. She needs to go to jail. But anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for watching the show. We'll get to the black community later. I want to give a quick shout out to Synergy. If you're looking for an energy drink that gives you clean energy throughout the day, I drink it every single day. And so does, I ain't gonna say everybody else, they be cheating on me. I ain't gonna hate on, they cheat on me. But I tell you what, Jim, my COO, he drinks it every single day. Me and him are loyal to the brand, y'all. It's a good quality brand. It's great. If you somehow want to have a heart attack, then I would recommend you drink those other things with 200 milligrams of caffeine. And people drinking 2 or 3 of them a day. 600 milligrams of caffeine is crazy. We only have 75 milligrams of caffeine, and that is because I care about your caffeine intake, and there's a balance. You don't want to consume too much caffeine, then you have terrible time sleeping, and then you live a terrible life, okay? I want you to be good quality, natural caffeine from green tea, extracted, quality, natural, you name it. And then before you go to bed, you got to take the night drink, which is the Synergy Night. You get good quality sleep, very low amount of melatonin, 1 milligram, which is other companies are 5 to 10 times as much melatonin, which is not good for you. Take the Synergy, synergylife.com. Get it today. I love you guys. See you on the next one. We out of here.